Okay, so basically every chord progression you see in every single piece of music that you've ever heard comes from a small set of chords that you can play on the guitar using bar chords. And those chords can be moved into any key. You can label the keys. We're going to just do this little fingering pattern with the notes starting on the 6th string. So the open string is E, the 1st fret is F, 3rd fret is G, 5th fret is A, 7th fret is B, 8th fret is C, 10th fret is D, and then the 12th fret, everything starts over. So you have an E again, and that 1st fret above the double dots is like the 1st fret above the open strings, that's F, and then G is the 15th fret, and 17th fret is A, so it's just like the 5th fret. The 5th fret above the double dots is just like the 5th fret above open. You'll see all the dots start over there. But we really basically only need up to maybe the F or the G up here, and then we can play all the other chord progressions down below. So the way the Roman numerals work, they're numbers, and they're outlined by this little fingering pattern. If we start, for example, on an A, the way the scale goes from a major scale. We're going to take that and put the last notes up on the 6th string again, so we only have to use notes on 2 strings. The way you do it is you skip a fret after the root note, and then skip a fret again. So those are numbers 1, 2, and 3, and you can start those numbers on any note. Right now we're playing in the key of A, so we're getting all the notes that are in the key of A. We're starting on A. So 1, 2, 3, and then on the next string, on the 5th string, you do 4, 5, and 6. And then number 7 is right down below number 1. So in this case, the 5th fret. That's number 7. Go back to 1. So you're always just skipping a fret. 1, skip a fret to 2, skip a fret to 3. On the next string, same thing. 4, skip a fret to 5, skip a fret to 6, and then 7 is right down a fret below where we started. So those are the notes in the key of A. Those end up being A, B, C sharp, D, E, and F sharp, and then G sharp. Those are the notes in the major scale, which we're just putting down in the bass. And if you play it starting on any note, you'll get the notes in that key. So if you start on G, it's a here, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, 2nd fret. And those notes are G, A, B, C, D, E, and F sharp, and they start over. You can do that in any key. Here's a C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. If you start on any note in between the natural notes, like here's a G, here's an A, you can call those in-between notes either sharps or flats. So G sharp or A flat, that's the same note. 1 fret above G, it's called a G sharp, and 1 fret below A is called an A flat. So those are notes in the key of A flat. Here's a B, so here's a B flat, which is also called A sharp. Here's a C, so here's a C sharp. So you get a different set of notes every time. And there's a certain set of chords that happens on each of those notes that make up basically every bit of music that you'll ever see. The way you play these things, if a note is on the 6th string, you have 3 different bar chords. This shape is major shape. I have these all in the little page that goes along with this. This is a major chord. Frets are, if you're on the 5th fret, 5, 7, 7, 6, 5, and 5. It's major. If you lift up your middle finger, that's minor. And if you put your middle finger back down, lift up your pinky, and optionally put it on the 2nd string at the 8th fret there, you get a 7th chord shape. That set of shapes has root notes on the 6th string. So wherever you put the pointer finger, if you put on a C, for example, and make this shape, it's called a C major. It's called a C minor, and it's a C7. Put on G, it's a G major, G minor, and G7. They have the same set of chords, major, minor, and 7th, on the 5th string. So we start that 5th fret at the D note there, number 4 in the key of A. Major chord looks like this. It's the frets here, 5, 7, 7, 7, another 5 on top. You can play it with a couple fingers if you want, or try and lay your ring finger down. That's the major chord. If you put your middle finger and your pinky down, middle finger on the 6th fret of the 2nd string, you get a minor chord. So the frets there are 5, 7, 7, 6, and 5. It's a minor chord with the root note on the 5th string. So these 3 shapes have a root note on the 5th string. Whatever note you're covering on the 5th string is the name of the root note name of the chord. This is a D. This is minor. It's called D minor. And then the D7 looks like this. Bar it, 5th string, 7th chord. It's actually an A7 chord shape moved up. It's 5, 7, 5, 7, 5. So that's the 7th chord for the 5th string. So again, you have major, minor, and 7. Major, minor, and 7. And for the 6th string, you have those same 3 shapes: major, minor, and 7. So in this case, this is a D major, a D minor, a D7. If you move that note on the 6th string up to the D, 10th fret, you get the same chords. It's the same sounds. Okay, so we're going to use those 6 shapes to build all the possible chords that you're going to see in basically every kind of music you've ever seen. And this is, all the chords that you'll see in music back 500 years from now, and everything that you see in any kind of popular radio kind of music, rock, country, blues, folk, funk, it doesn't matter. Even jazz. Jazz tends to move things around to different keys, and you'll see chord shapes that are a little bit more complex harmonically, but the same basic chord movements are used in every type of music. You can reduce every piece of music down to a little set of chord progressions. So what you do is you're going to see certain categories of chords. The most common are 1, 4, and 5. So if you're counting up these notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. You start on 1, and you find 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 1, 4, and 5. If you play those all as major chords, you get this. Here's a 1. It's on the 6th string, so you use this major shape. 1 major. Here's a 4. It's on the 5th string, so you use this shape for major. And 5, same thing. It's on the 5th string, so you use this shape. So 1, 4, 5. And in blues, you see those play the 7th chords. 1, 7. 4, 7, and 5, 7. So 1, 4, and 5 chords are just about everywhere. You're going to be hard pressed to find tunes that don't have 1, 4, and 5 chords. They're everywhere. The minor chords, those are the major chords. The minor chords, the most important ones are 6, 2, and 3. The number 6, go up to number 6, starting in the key of A, ends up being on the 9th fret. That's an F sharp in the key of A. Make a minor chord there. 5th string, minor shape. It's an F sharp minor chord in this key. So you have an A major, D major, an E major, and F sharp minor. The 3 chord's another common one. 1, 2, 3. That's on the 6th string, so you use this minor shape, the 6th string minor shape. 2 is also another common minor chord. Go to 2, that's a B in this case, minor chord on the 6th string. So B minor, C sharp minor, and F sharp minor. The 6th chord is the most important chord for minor. Usually, most minor chord progressions are centered on that 6 minor chord. Usually start and end there. So you'll see chord progressions start like this. If you hear a sad sounding or dark chord progression, it usually starts and ends on a 6th chord. If you're using this way to describe chord progressions. It makes everything really easy because you use all the same chords in a chord progression like this. Like 1, 4, and 5. If you use the 6th chord, sounds minor, sounds sad. That landing on the 6th chord is really important. You're going to see that most dark tunes start with that number. There's some other really common chords, especially in rock. You'll see the flat chords. What you do with flat chords is you count up to a number and then you move it down a fret. So the flat 7 chord is really common. Here's the numbers: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 is a fret below 1. So if you take that 7 note in this key of A, it's at the 4th fret. A is at the 5th fret, so 1 fret below it is a 7. Flat 7 means take that 7 and move it down another fret. So you're going to see a large Roman numeral 7, meaning play a major chord. All the large Roman numerals are used for major chords, and small Roman numerals are used for minor chords. So flat 7 is going to be a large Roman numeral 7 with a little, looks like a lowercase b in front of it. Flat 7. So you see like, or that was a 1, flat 7, 4, and 1. You also see things like flat 6. Count up to 6, move it down a fret, make it major. again, flat with a big number 6. So you hear a progression, like for example, that was a 1, a flat 6, a flat 7, back to 1. So you see those a lot in rock. In metal, you'll see like flat 5 and flat 2. Those are really common. You want a really, really heavy sound. Count to 5, flat it, and play it either power chord or major chord there. So the other one you see in metal a lot is flat 2. Count up to 2 and flat it. Move it down a fret. So in you know, in the key of A, 2 is at B, A, B, skip a fret, and then move back down, so you're at the 6th fret, B flat. So you'll see those kind of things all over the place. So, you know, metal progression might go something like 1, flat 5, 1, flat 2, flat 7, flat 3, 1. That gives you a little bit more of a, you know, dark sound. The flat chords really sound like rock and roll. And there's some other chords. There are these things called secondary dominants, where you make some of the chords that you normally see 7th chords. The most common one is a 3/7 chord. We already did a 3 minor. Count up to 3, and you do a 3/7. So you do a 7th chord with the root note on the 6th string. Comes a C sharp 7 in this key. And you see that most commonly when you're playing a 6 minor chord. So in minor chords, chord progressions, you'll see things like 6, 4, maybe 5, and then 3, 7, 1, 2, 3, 7, 4. And those are tied together. And the 3/7 almost always goes back to a 6 minor chord. Sometimes you'll see it go to a 4 chord. You see 1/7 a lot. Again, 1 chord, turn into a 7th chord. That goes to 4. So like a. There's a 7th chord, and that almost always goes to a 4. And here's another really common chord. A little bit of a chord progression: 4 major going to 4 minor. So it's a D major, and this key going to a D minor. So here's that 1 and 1/7, 4 minor, here's a 3/7. By mixing up these chords, you get some, you know, actually not just some, but all of the most common chord sounds that you hear making up our music. And if you want to do any sort of playing by ear, you want to get to know how each of these chords sound on their own and in combination with each other. You know, knowing that that minor 6 is always the foundation of a minor chord progression is really what makes you able to hear what the chord should be. You hear a minor chord, you put it in the 6th position. Like if I hear an E minor chord starting a song out, I want to figure out the rest of the chords. I'm going to start by putting my pointer finger on the you know, the E on the 5th string, and kind of walking down from there, and it'll give me all the chords. That E minor chord is really in the key of G. But to get how this works, the key is just knowing how these chords work together. You're going to see 2 chords a lot, 2 major 2 chords. We already did a minor 2. A major 2 is really common. You'll see it like in Beatles sounding stuff and a lot of rock. So you have like a 6 minor, here's a 3/7, here's a 5, here's a 2, here's a 4, 1, 2 minor this time, and 3. So a 6 minor, 3/7, 5, and 2 major. 2 major is really common. 4 and 1, here's a 2 minor and 3/7, common chord progression, well-known chord progression. So Roman numerals are really helpful in understanding how you can play all the chords. There are a couple more, but in pop and rock music, those are the most common chords, and almost every chord progression that you see is going to be built out of one of those numbers. You have 1, 4, 5. The minors are 6 minor, 3, and 2. Especially the rock chords are flat 7, flat 6, flat 3, and then for metal, flat 5 and flat 2. A couple other oddballs of secondary dominants: the 3/7, which you always see with the 6 minor, the 1/7, which really often goes to 4, and the 4 going to 4 minor is a really common little move. And then the 1, the 2 chord. And that pretty much does it. Those are the most common chords that you're going to see in all of pop music, and you can guarantee that about 99% of songs you can play with those numbers. So learning it by ear, learning those numbers by ear is great if you want to be able to do things, and just play. If people say, hey, we're playing the song in the key of A, for example, if I want to do happy birthday, it's going to be a 1, happy birthday, 2, 5, 5, 7, back to 1, 1, 7, 1, 7, and then 4, 4, minor, 4, 1, 1, 5, 1. And you don't have to know what those numbers are. If you know that fingering pattern, and I can play that in any key. If someone says, I want to do it in F sharp, well, you move your starting note to F sharp, 2nd fret, do the same numbers, the same shapes. You don't have to know what the names of those chords are. They happen to be F sharp, C sharp, C sharp 7, F sharp 7, B minor, F sharp, and C sharp and F. You don't have to know all that. You can just play those shapes. And if you get to know that sound, now you can play Happy Birthday in every key. And the same is true for any kind of rock and roll tune, any kind of pop tune. If you look on guitar.com, it's GUI-TAR.com. Front page of that, I've got all this written out, along with every other bit of theory information there is for guitarists, about 100 pages. And it covers everything about scales and chords and chord progressions. I got, I think, 10 pages of songs fully charted out. A bunch of classic, everything from old classic tunes up to modern pop and punk and Beatles tunes and everything you can imagine, written out as Roman numerals, as Roman numeral progressions. And you can do this for any song. You can take any of these tunes and any tune that you know and put it together into a Roman numeral progression. And one of the reasons that the Roman numeral progressions are really helpful for guitarists is they help you figure out which scales to play against anything that you're listening to. So you look at the chords in a song, you assign them some Roman numerals, you figure out, okay, if I'm playing G, C, and D, that's 1, 4, and 5 in the key of G. G, C, and D. Which, of course, you can play down here. G, C, and D. Like all these chords, you can play other places. In the key of A, that's A, D, and E. Well, you can play that here, A, D, and E, using open chords. C, C, F, and G, so you can go C, F, and G. That's where all those chord progressions come from. They're just 1, 4, and 5 chords in each of these different keys. And every chord progression you've ever heard, B flat, A flat, or B flat, E flat, and F are the 1, 4, and 5 chords in the key of B flat. So if you're looking at chord progression, you kind of do the opposite thing. You listen to it and figure out what the numbers are for it. And there are certain guidelines. So the pentatonic scale is the most common scale that guitarists play to take solos over chord progression. So if you're going to play a solo over a song, this is the basis how you do all of it. Scale, if you play it here starting at the 5th fret with your pointer finger at 5, it's called an A minor pentatonic or a C major pentatonic. It goes like this: 8-5, 8-5, 7-5, 7-5, 7-5, and 8-5. So the frets again are 8-5, 8-5, 7-5, 7-5, 7-5, and then 8-5. If you do that same thing with your pinky on the root note on the 5th fret, you get 5-2, 5-2, 4-2, 4-2, 4-2, and 5-2. Okay, so same fingering pattern. It's always pinky, pinky, ring, 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 and pinky. on the 6th string. There's two ways to name this scale. If you name it by where you're putting your pointer finger, it's called minor. That's an A minor. Put your pinky on the root note, it's called an A major. Major. So every one of those positions has two different names. This is A minor, or this is a C here, C major. Same scale. This is called A major, or this is an F sharp minor. Same scale. Those are called relative major and minor scales. The way the numbers work, if you have a 1, 4, 5 progression, 1, 4, and 5 chords in the progression, you can play either a major or minor pentatonic scale. So if I'm playing in A, 1, 4, and 5, so you can do that, or you can play like maybe a little shuffle. 1, 4, 5. And do that. I'm going to record this. There's 1. I'm doing a little loop here. Here's 4. Here's 1 again. 5. Okay, so there's the loop going. If I play that scale, put a pinky on it, sounds sweet. Play some licks out of it. So you get like a kind of countryish, happy feeling. That's if you put your pinky on the root note. I'm playing 1, 4, and 5 in A, in the 5th fret. Put my pinky on the A, and I get that country sound. I put my pointer finger on A, play the same scale, get a much more bluesy or rock sound. So that sounds much more like rock. Here's the major again. Here's minor. Here's major again. Much more bluesy sound. Same chords. When you're playing 1, 4, and 5, you can play either major or minor. If you're doing the minor chords, like the 6 minor, 3 minor, 2, and any mix which uses like 1, 4, and 5 along with the 6, the 2, and the 3 minor chords. If you're playing the minor chords, you put your pinky on. You don't want to do the minor pentatonic. So here's like a little chord progression. I'm going to do this in the key of C. Here's C. Here's 1. Here's 5. Here's 6. 6 minor. 3 minor. 4. Here's a 1. Here's a 2. 2 minor. 5. Play that chord progression really quickly. 1, 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, C in the 8th fret, 2 minor, 5. Okay, so do that. That has minor chords in it. I'm playing the key of C 8th fret. I'm going to put my pinky on the root note. And that'll give me all the right notes. Notes. If you play this, that just doesn't sound right. 5, it'll sound right. If you want to do like a bluesy kind of sounding thing there. But as soon as you get to those 6, 3, and 2 chords, it doesn't sound good. So you put your pinky for minor chords. That sounds right. Again, here's the minor. Doesn't sound quite right over those chords. The opposite's true if you're playing the flat chords, like you're going to go back to A. Let's try a 1, the key of A. Here's flat 6. And then here's flat 7. For those chords, you put your pointer finger. When you have those numbers, you put your pointer finger on the root note. So here's A. Let me do a little rock. Flat 6, that's an F. Flat 7, that's a G. So 1 again. Flat 6. Flat 7. Here's the loop. So I put my pointer finger on that, play the scale. And all those notes sound good. Don't want to put your pinky there if you're playing flat chords. So again, and I can do those same notes. I'm on the 5th fret, go up above the 12th frets, get those same notes. Again, here's the major sound. Doesn't sound good if I put my pinky on the A. It sounds terrible. Horrible. You don't want that. You want to put your pointer finger. Okay, so when you're doing chord progressions, again, they have 1, 4, and 5. You can do either major or minor. When you have, you can put either your pinky or your pointer finger on the starting note of the key. If you're doing minor chords, 6 minor, 3 minor, or 2 minor, you can put your pinky on the starting note. So in the key of A, I put my pinky on 5 and 5th fret and play the scale. Don't put your pointer finger on the 5th fret for those minor 6, minor 3, minor 2 chords. For the flat chords, for flat 7, flat 6, flat 3, flat 5, flat 2, use minor pentatonic. Do put your pointer finger on the root note. On the key of A, that'll be at the 5th fret, and don't put your pinky on the root note. And that gives you a basic guideline for just about every kind of chord progression you're ever going to hear. And it shows you how to pick the right scale, how to figure out the chords that are a key in. That covers a huge amount of what you actually do when you're playing with people. You can play the chords of the song, play the chords that the band you're playing with, or if you're just playing for a singer. Those Roman numerals will give you all the chords that you need to play. And of course, you can play them at different places, but this little fingering pattern of 1, 4, 5 helps you always put it in the same shapes on the fretboard so that you can hear them a little more easily, get used to the sounds of those particular positions, and they'll always be the same. Those chord progressions and those positions will always sound the same relative to each other. You just move them to a different fret to play in a different key. So you get used to hearing the sounds really easily that way. If you can use that one fingering pattern, you can hear the chords change really easily. You can figure out chords in a song really easily. And then these little guidelines about whether you use your pinky or pointer finger on the root note, based on which chords are in the song or in a portion of a song, tell you where to put the pentatonic scale so you can take a solo. That lets you play the chords in the background and take a solo over any kind of musical sound or song that you'll ever see. It's one of the most valuable and useful things to learn as a guitar player, and in a bunch of other videos, and in just about everything you'll ever learn as you learn more about lead guitar playing, you're going to learn how to use those scales. And there's 5 places you can play that pentatonic scale on the fretboard to cover the entire fretboard, and there are a ton of common licks. The key is to learn how to use these scales so you're not just going up and down, the scale when you go take a solo. Instead of doing, if you're going, that was 1, 4, and 5. You don't want to go every time you sit down and take a solo and just run the scale, or do this. You want to learn licks that go. A lot of little movements, bends, repeated motive patterns, things like that. Bends like this. That you learn, and you're going to see those. Those are the words that make up phrases that go into every kind of guitar playing. And those words are not necessarily crazy interesting on their own. Just like the word "the" isn't that interesting in the English language, but if you try and speak without using some of those common words like "the" or "me" or "you," you're gonna have a hard time sounding like you're speaking English because they become such a part of our, the language that we use. If you learn a language, it's like this is like learning a language. You don't make up the language. These are kind of like letters in the alphabet that make up the words that we use. And don't go to France and just start spouting out things that have letters in them in the French alphabet. You got to learn the words that make up French. It's the same thing with learning to play lead guitar. You got to learn all these little words, all these licks. And then just like the word "the" isn't going to be a really important part of anything you say, it's going to go together with a lot of other words to make a bigger phrase. And the way that you play it, the emphasis that you give, the way you go from low to high, the way you play with rhythmic energy, the way that you use certain sounds, all those things go together to make pieces of music, just like the words we use go together to create effective presentations with language. And doing this little thing might not seem very interesting. That's a little lick. That little lick is a famous lick. You've heard that in a couple solos. But you see it more often in things like or there's that little lick kind of hidden inside of a bunch of phrases. So any lick that you see, you see something like that. There's a bunch of other stuff around that. All those are common licks we can kind of break down. That's what a bunch of the other videos cover here. And I've got those core licks kind of written out on one sheet of paper, and you can just learn them and get really fast with them. The idea is to get fast with them so you can play them fluently and connect them together to learn how to make phrases that are actually effective. The single licks on their own don't do much, but when you start combining them, you get this huge variety of things that you can do, and that's where the overwhelming majority of lead guitar playing comes from. And there's a huge history of this stuff, and to learn how to play well, you have to learn those words. So that's what the other videos will teach you. This is just kind of the theoretical foundation about how all of it goes together to make up all of our music. Take a look through that. Hopefully that'll help you get started with the Roman numerals.